when you go to the app settings and go to the app info, so there is something called the battery. If you go inside the battery, there's something called background restrictions. So if you basically enable this background restrictions, it says that the app will not run in the background to save battery. The app may not work properly and may not receive its notification, which is straightly mentioned by the app itself. So most of them. Oh, I'm not sharing the screen. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, sorry. Okay, yes. I hope everybody can see the screen now. Yeah. So there's something called battery restrictions. The moment we enable the battery restriction, it basically simulates how the battery gets killed in the background or the app gets killed in the background. And then nothing gets synced. So in Android, there is something called this. There's a batch processing, just like you have batches in a lot of servers and things like that. So previous Android versions had this thing that if you charge your phone 100% and leave it at night, the morning you see it will be about 5% or 6%, because everybody got a chance to run in the background. But the latest Android phones, there is something called Doze Mode. So just like Doze Off, right? So there is a Doze Mode where the Android restricts everything from happening on the background and opens up a specific window between, for example, let's say 12 a.m. to 12 a.m. This 2 minutes is where most of the apps can work. And after the 2 minutes, the Android shuts down everything. That's the reason the latest Android version, if you connect to your charger for about, let's say, keep it at 100%, the next day morning you wake up, it will be 99% because of the Doze Mode that it's been enabled. So that's the idea behind it, right? So now going back to the app testing. So there was one question, I believe. Let's see. Okay, Jyoti, I will give you a recap. Okay, so let me answer Jyoti. So we spoke about the Android architecture. What is the basic of Android? How does Android app work? What is the APK? And what are the things that are there as part of the Android system? And how does the APK work? And then what are the ways in which we can test the application using the developer options and the default option provided by Android to simulate certain things in the application, or to see how the app reacts. So that's where we were in. We were using developer options to simulate certain things, and we found a couple of bugs. And this is a continuity of the same session. We have a lot more developer options that we can understand and see what exactly was happening, right? So that's on just a brief of what was happening. I think the session is recorded, so which means we have the session recorded and can be posted somewhere, shared. I think Deepa is planning to do that, so you can go through the entire recap, right? So for some apps, we face difficulty to connect to any proxy tools. Set the proxy settings. Can you explain the process of adding SSL certificate? Okay, so this has nothing to do. Some apps have default disabled the proxy settings because they don't want to handle certain API calls that are going outside of whatever the network protocol that they have. So if you are using either Charles or Fiddler, so you can, I'm just opening the Charles. So this has nothing to do with the application. Your app should ideally work with the proxy enabled also. And you're not setting your proxy for your app, you're setting your proxy for your phone. So as far as the proxy is working, which means the internet is working, your app should go through it. And here is the second thing, is the fact that you're not throttling any kind of location metric. So it is still the IP address that is facing your probably Bangalore or whatever the location you are in. So it shouldn't make any difference to the app that you're using. So which means there should not be any restrictions if you're setting a proxy and then enable. Probably the reason why some apps might not work is the fact that if you are enabling the proxy, your organization does not enable you to have proxy settings in place. Because your organization have a proxy by default. So they monitor all your network calls that are being happening. There are some restrictions. There are some firewalls that are there. And then the moment it detects there is some proxy that is being used, that is being restricted. It is nothing to do your application. It has nothing to do with your proxy. It has nothing to do with your app. It is to do with the network that is there, the firewall that is there, and how restricted it is. And then yes, so you can use the uh, proxy for all of this. So you can see the SSL here. So let me open the SSL. So you can go here, you can add an SSL, what is the host and things like that. And then all the certificates will pass through this. So you can also have the SSL certificate here, pre-assist secure stored. So you can have all of this. So these are some things that is there as part of the Charles proxy. This is there as part of the Fiddler as well. So you can use this to gain maximum understanding of how you use proxy to get the data out. I hope I've answered the questions. So any other question? Okay, great. So I'm going to jump into the testing part of it. So yes, so I was showing you guys this. So once I enabled all the settings here, I increased the width to max, the display to max, density to max. So if you see here, I'll show you the previous versus what is happening with the current place. So I'll go to the settings. Go to settings. First of all, I'm going to switch off the don't keep activities because it's become very slow. Okay, I've disabled it. I'm going to go to the display. I'm going to do this and say apply. So now we can see here that that some of the things are fixed because the font size have been reduced, but then the display size is still same. I'm going to reduce the display size as well. So I'm going to just reduce the display size. Now, if I go back to the application, you should see most of the things to be the same as what it is there. Yes, you can see all of them back to the place. So there is this button here, which is the collections, and there is add customers. So everything is back in place. Although it is called as collections here, it showed as reminders there. If you see, there's collections here, and then I go and increase the display size. Display size and go here. It says reminders. So if I go inside reminders, there are no reminders. How do I go to the reminders? So there's an empty state here. There's an empty state in it. So if you see, we just found a bug using the font size itself, which says that it shows reminder, but it's not navigating anywhere else. It shows some empty space. I believe this is the collections, but I don't know where exactly is the collections right now. How do I go to the collections if I have enabled all of this? So this is one of the basic functional bugs that we have found right now, just using the specific, the display size, right? So that is something that we can do. It is, now I can go back to the application and show you guys. The phone is behaving very weird. Yeah, so now you can see the collections are back. It's collections here, but there is no reminders. I don't know where the reminders are coming from. And then we have this, of course, which is there. So we just found a bug using the display settings. And it's not just this. This is one screen that we have come across. I hope the Kata book does not support the orientation. We'll also test that out. So to find out what is there as part of the Kata book, right? So what you can do is there is an app called Manifest Viewer, right? So you can open this and then let the application loads. I'll tell you the reason why it takes so much time. It's because I have so many applications. We go to Kata book. JK. So if you open this, you can see, look into manifest.xml. So if you see here, let me zoom in. I can show you guys that the platform build version code is 2.4. The min SDK version is 24. So if you see what is 24, so when you go here, you can say that 24, they support from 7.0 only. So if you install this app on 6.0, they don't support. That's the idea. So behind it, the reason why you can see that there's the min SDK version is 24, and then allow backup is also false. The hash code is false. There's overlay. There's nothing like that. And then the Android priority, what is the high time and things like that. So these are the things that you will get as part of your the Android XML. There was a lot more data, but they've not enabled anything here in terms of the application. So there's also one more application that will tell you what are the, there's something called APK Analyzer. You can just open this APK Analyzer, which tells you a lot more data in terms of what is the permissions that are asked for, what are the XML details, how was, let me go to Khata book. Yes. So it does some validation. So it says what is the version name, what is the version code. System application, it is not a system application. Application source is unknown because we have not downloaded from Play Store. What is the target SDK? It says 28 here, which is a different thing. As far as the manifest says, it says it's 24. The target SDK is 28 here, and the min SDK is 21 here, which means that particular manifest viewer, whatever we have seen, is completely different. So you need to ask the developer, why is this happening? Do we support 7.0 or do we support 5.0 and things like that? So you can see that min version is what 5.0. This is what to start. This is the path of APK. This is the path of data. Where is the install location? What is the app size? When was the first install? When was the last update? You can also see the certificates that are there. And you can also see the permissions that are there. So you can see all this. There are different permissions. There are user permissions. There are system permissions. What you're seeing right now is call phone, read context, camera, and context. These are as part of it. There's external storage and read external storage. This comes as part of the storage. There is internet permission. This is a very basic permission that comes from. So nobody asks you guys to give me access to the internet. So by default, it's internet access. And it also accesses the network states. So whether it is Wi-Fi or it is 4G and things like that to be able to get. So the app might ask for certain permissions, but the libraries that are installed will also ask for certain permissions. So those are the things that will happen. And then what you also have is the wake lock. It tells you, it also has permission to wake up the device even if it is locked, even if it is in the sleep state. And there is foreground service, there's check license, and then there is other things. So you can also see what are the different activities that are as part of the application. So this will give you an idea of how the app is constructed. So you can see there is home.ui, home report activity, and there is customer report activity, and there is transaction activity. There's login activity, which is straightforward. And then there's something called learn Khata book in 2 minutes activity, which means I believe they are running a video during that time. And then deep linking activity, which means it also connects to WhatsApp and things like that. So that's the reason it's asking for, it has a deep link activity. The new entry activity, every time you add a new customer. So one thing that you can ask your developers is that, why is it called new entry activity here and there's a new customer activity? They can actually rename it for better code reusability and things like that. That is something that you guys can always suggest of what the developers can do. And then create new book activity. Then we have login V2 old activities. So they have some things as part of the background that they can enable and disable based on the kind of application they are pushing it. So those are some things that also there's some of the applications does. But if they are not using this, there is no point of this particular activity in the application. This also means the app size will reduce drastically if they remove this particular activity from the code. There's app intro activity, there's edit customer info activity, then there is delete Khata activity. So these are different activities that are part of the application. So you can say run activity. It cannot start because it is somewhere in the middle of the application. And there are different services. what are the different services that are used by different activities, and who are the content providers, which are what is being used by the application, broadcast retrievers, the features that are there, and then permissions and the resources. So you can see here resources, how many drawables are there? 1571 drawables are there. Different drawables are 931. PNG are about 919 files. Okay, I spoke about 9-patch images, right? Similar to this, there is something called 9.png drawables. There are about 161 drawables like that. There are 0 GIFs. There is 1 JPEG. Why is that we have a PNG and then they have the JPEG separately? And there are different, so you can see what are the resolution that they support. So these are some things that are there as part of the application for quite some time. It has been added. So we have never given any idea about how these things work in the application, right? So this is very, very important for us to know how the app works, how the app responds, how the app works at different point of time, right? So this is on the APK analyzer. So you can install this in your app. So here is something that I've also instructed Khatabook team, right? So you can't do this every time. You don't have to do this every time, right? One of the things that you have to do is to have a specific checks in place to get probably an Excel file to update what is the size of the application over the past, what is the permission that is being added over the time, what are the things that are permissions that are being added over the time, how is the activity, what is the min SDK changing over the time, when a new version comes, do we support that, what are the different logins that are available, what are the different SDKs that are being used, and things like that. So have a small Excel that mentions all of these factors, and then you have to add this on a release basis. Probably the release that you have to focus on is the release that goes live to the Play Store, not the QA build, so that you get an understanding, or provide your customers that saying, hey guys, we have been monitoring this for quite some time, and then ask probably someone in our office to build a graph of how the spikes are happening, what are the usage that are going wrong, and things like that, to be able to give them an idea of how their changes are impacting the application in a different way. They're asking why the crashes are happening. They're asking why the testing is not good, why the testing is not in a specific way. It's fact that we don't monitor certain pieces of the application, right? This is important that we monitor all of this during our testing, and have this as a checklist that comes out every once in a while, that you can post it or share it with your developers or the team whenever you have a triage meeting or something like that, right? So this is the idea for this particular thing. So then we have this different screens. We're going to say PDF and see what happens. It's asking for access to Khatabook. I'm going to say deny. Right to storage permission denied. So I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no. Then try to display by. Right? Now I'm going to use this place of saying I'm going to increase the size of the display or increase the font size as well, to understand how it's going to react for this particular screen that we have actually come across. So I'm going to go here, just going to open this. So where are the filters? So if you see here, when I increase the font size, there's only remove filter that was there. So see here, you can see that there's a remove filter which didn't go, or probably got hidden or something like that. So when I click here, so enable change date, I close the remove filter. This is basically a very simple bug that shows up. The remove filter should not probably it should not get applied after I'm done. It should probably be there. Say settled. So one thing that I'm doing right now, if you see it's flickering, it's because I'm basically using 2 fingers to see how the app responds when I use multi-finger at the same time. So I'm clicking on remove and see, I cleared the remove filter, and then the receivables I clicked at the same time, just to make sure that it is not responding to multiple clicks. So you can also check with your developers if they are supporting multiple, because that will come in a different way, and then it will impact the applications in while we are using it. And then I'm going to also enable the rotation and see if they support rotation here. Looks like they're not supporting. There's an orientation here. Yeah, so they don't support orientation, which solves some of the problems, because it's better way to solve the problem is not to have orientation in place, right? So this is something that we have. I'm going to clear this thing. I'm going to say no. So see how this is going to work. Say this is the page that we have come across before. Now I'm going to go see view reports and see how it's going to look. So you can see all this entire text have been jumbled. There's no way that I can understand what exactly is happening. So I'm going to say date range. Oh, so this is very interesting. So I'm going to say done. See, you can see all the dates has been jumbled here. The date range is being selected for something else, 2037 to 2037, which I don't think it should also be allowed, given the fact that we are in 2020. There will never be an entry for 2037 until unless people are allowed to. So these are some suggestions that we can give to the developers. How do I basically remove this? So we have till 2100 for what? So right. So I'm going to go back. I need to say more. So there are different settings here. I'm going to go to settings. So log settings. Let's see. No, I'm going to not confirm. So the language. Wow. So the previous screen had a better language selection, given the fact that all the select language was pretty clear. It didn't get truncated like this, but this particular screen from settings, the language session has been truncated. So this is a bug. So this is definitely a bug where we say that, hey, you have handled this particular scenario in the previous screen, but not here, right? So this is one bug that we have come across. It says the last data backup has been this time. Then delete Kata. We're going to delete brain technologies. By doing so, you will lose all the data. Sure. Then we're going to go help and support, how to use. So this is basically a web view. So this is being rendered on the backend as part of so they're just rendering the YouTube here, nothing else. And then they're just you can play the YouTube video and things like that. It's asking us to call, and I'm going to say deny. Enable the settings to use this feature. Sure. Not going to enable. So the chat. So it says powered by FreshChat. So they're using FreshChat for their internal for the feedback mechanism. There's a request money, and then there are other features like the payment history, and then there's QR code, which is pretty good. And then these are the problems, right? So now that we have, so there's one more thing, which is with respect to the activities, that after I went more and tried to explore all of this and then click back, it closed the application. So the flow was for me to go to this particular app. I was in home. From home, I went to more, which means when I click back, it should ideally go back to the home, given the fact that that's the way that the user have gone. But then while you're coming back, you're not maintaining the same hierarchy. So you're letting the app close directly from the more, which is not right. After going to all of this screen, I expect it to come back to the home. This is as part of the Android guidelines that you can monitor how the hierarchy is managed, how the activities are managed. They are not connecting the home activity to the more activity and vice versa. The reason why the app is closing, the hierarchy is not maintained at the same way, right? So these are some things. Then we have, let us go and download the report. I'm going to say the access to the no media, say deny, permit and denied, sure. I didn't give you the permission, which is all right. Then I'm going to sort. I think we have pretty much done this. So now I'm going to add a new business. I'm going to say explore . Khata book. This is to see how many characters are being accepted by the business name. Wow. So there's no limit to the number of characters. I believe it can keep going on. This is something that you can check with your developer of saying, why are we accepting so many characters? It is not. So I'm going to go next. So you can see that this explore ideas for testing is one such name. And there is a small button here which is overlapping on the add to customers because of the for the display size. So I'm going to say go here, my name, where it. This is to test how many characters are being accepted. Again, so I'm going to save to see how it is with the business name. Now I go back, it closes application which is wrong. So I have to come back here. So this is how it looks when we have such a big name in place. So I'm going to add a customer here. I'm going to say no, I'm going to add my name again and then put my phone number 509906. Okay, so you have other countries as well, wow, which is good. I'm going to say one of our rival countries right now. Then I'm going to say I got 6,000. Let's see, send SMS. Here's the thing. So, okay, we just got an update which said that the SMS could not be sent, but it looked like a positive message. And then if you see also here, I put 6.0000. I'm going to say transaction has been sent. It will ask me to send a SMS, probably a reminder. I'm able to send SMS. So where do I gave 6,000. Now I hope it will ask me for SMS. Okay, so these are some things that we need to monitor because it supports countries outside India as well, because of the fact that you can't send an SMS outside India. It will cost you quite some money, and then you don't need an option because you are focused towards India. If you remove the number of uh, you know countries out there for the SMS, it will also reduce your app size by quite some time because of the number of images that are there, number of text that are there, number of characters that are there. So I'm going to give you another glimpse of what it is. I'm going to say test. I'm going to see. So look at the number of images here. So we have so many images. We have so many countries. So the Katha book is completely focused on India, or if they're going outside, definitely they can. It can be used by outside Indians as well. But is it the focus right now? Are we going to go outside India and show these are the things that are going? This also means these many images and the text also adds up to the app size of the application. So this is something that we can do as part of the testing. So we just came across some observation. I'm going to write down this observation and send it to the Khata book team also. I think Sukanya is there. She has been watching it. She has the records of all the tests that I've done. So we'll also look into deeper into a lot of other things. Also, I'll take about probably 10 minutes to just walk you through all the other developer options that we can use to be able to test the application. So we tested functionality. I unfortunately turned somewhere else. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so I'm going to show you some. So there's something called show input. So it will show how many fingers. So these are the 3 dots that you see is the number of fingers that I've kept on my screen. And this you can use while you are capturing screenshot, because it will also capture the touches that you're done, so you exactly know what you are doing. And when you are testing, when you're recording, even for example the Bagasura, I think eventually they will look into showing the touches as well where it has happened, so that people get an idea of where it has been clicked. Then also the show touch data. This is a little bit complex. It shows how much, where am I searching, what are the coordinates. For example, if you're using Selenium, right? So you're going to use paths, which is the coordinates. So this is the coordinate that you will eventually be using as part of the, this is what will show in the UI automator as part of the touch data. The social screen updates. So you can see this will flash the place that are being updated. You can see this particular screen is not updated right now. So let me go to Khata book, for example, just to get an idea of what are the places that are being updated. So they're not updating anything on the screen after some time. But if you see on the notification, it is blinking. If you guys have a quick idea, the fact that the notification has Wi-Fi, it has got charging, it has got clock, all these are being updated on every few millisecond basis. The reason why they have to draw it again, and that's why the top navigation bar is blinking. But the rest of the places it's not blinking. You can see after once I add. So this will get an idea of how many times it is being drawn. So if you see, you don't have to draw this entire screen. You are only drawing this particular cursor. So this is a feedback to your developers also, that we are only refreshing the customer name entity. So you are basically refreshing the entire screen, which is not the right way to do it, right? And then I'll also go in contact. Now I'll go back, see other screens as well, just to make sure that it is being there. Go to more. So see how long it has been refreshing and things like that. So this is one idea of saying how much the screen updates or gets redrawn, right? And the second thing is, this is one of the crucial, information, which is the animation scale. So you can see all the animation here. If you switch off the animation, there are no animations whatsoever when you're switching between the application when you're clicking. So if you just to give you an example, I will show you guys. I'll make it 10x. You can see everything is low. See, everything is slow. This is the animation that you're talking about. It's default set in 1x. So if you set it to 0x, which is animation off, you will see the phone to be extremely smooth and fast. It will not be smooth, but it will be very, very fast because of the fact that all the animations are removed. If you put your phone in a battery saver mode, this is how it responds. All the animation scale will be switched off. All the animation data will be switched off. It is only to respond to how they're. And this also impacts your application of how fast it renders or writes the next screens that comes up. And the next thing is the simulate display. So you can see, you can simulate all the secondary displays. This is one option. And then this is what we looked into. What is the display size? It will reduce to the smallest, if you can see. And then there is also simulate a cutout. So you can see here, there will be a small cutout here on top. So there is a cutout here right now because of the cutout. And then we have double cutout, so it shows on the left side, and we also have a tall cutout, so it is in the middle. This is to simulate how the notches are coming in. So if you have a phone with a notch, how the app responds to during that time. Apart from this, we also have the GPU. So you can see here, show GPU overdraw, how much GPU is being consumed for redrawing specific part of the application. So you can switch this off. And then you can also enable the strict mode. What happens is, this is very, very important. When it goes to a specific strict mode, any thread that takes more time, it will not, it will alert you that this particular thread is taking more time to finish the execution. So this is something that you can enable as well to be able to test. And then the profile, so you can see how much frames are being rendered at what point of time. The small green line that you see is basically the 60 FPS mark. Anything that is taking beyond 60 FPS to render is the frames that are dropping. So I'm going to switch this off. I'm going to also switch off show touches. And then always show crash dialog. So if you can enable this by default to get any crashes that happens, it will automatically give you. And then you can also see all the inactive apps. These are some things that gives you an idea of how many people, what are your phone and how much the app you're using more often and you're not using. So this will give you an idea as well. For the resizable. So these are some default option where you say that regardless of your manifest values, it will automatically resize based on the kind of application that you're or the phone that you are using. So these are to check whether if your manifest file are being rewritten further. So this is some these are some options that you have with the developer options. You can enable most of them and you can try it out. I I suggest you guys to look into the developer options. Try Khata Book Wheel. I've also uh, shared the APK with you guys, so you can definitely try it out with all the options that is there as part of your application. And share the observation to me and Sukanya. I think those are the team they're working with. So you can try out all these options and get an idea of what exactly is happening with your application, how the application responds and what is happening and things like that. So that's the idea about um, the developer options. I think if we have spent a lot of time on this, I am now okay to get some questions, and we'll wrap it up for today. I think I've taken more than 2 hours to do some things. Yeah. So I hope this was particularly useful for you guys in terms of testing Android apps and things like that. We'll have a follow-up session on testing other apps as well. I think we have a lot more to do with the Khata Book itself. We have not tested the integration part of it and things like that. We're focused more on the higher level of different application, of how an app responds to different tools and things that are available as part of the phone itself. So these are some ways to test. You guys can build metrics around it, monitor it more often to see how, to also help your developers understand the changes that are happening constantly, and help you test better. So that's the idea behind it. I think I'm gonna shut my mouth for some time. I've been talking for quite some time. You guys can ask questions, or if you guys have any ideas that you want to do it the next time, or anything is welcome.
I think that was a lot of knowledge, especially for somebody like me who's not from the domain. But yes, Abhi, I think we have to appreciate the kind of confidence that you have and the ease with which you took us through the entire thing. If anybody has questions, again, raise your hand. We'll unmute your mic and you can talk and ask. If you are in a place that you cannot talk, you can use the chat window and type. If Abhi was super clear, then I think that's the best scenario that we would like. Also, if there is, we're going to have Thursdays are dedicated for testing and technology training sessions. If there is something that you want us to do, and if that's the need of the hour for you all, please reach out to me and I will definitely schedule a session with the right person.
Yeah. Yeah. We have like 10 minutes to go, I believe. Yes. Like 8 minutes to go.
8 minutes to go, yes.
Please raise your hands if you guys have some questions. If not, I think we'll wait for 2 minutes.
Udita, Sukanya, Sudhir.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, people are able to hear me.
Yeah.
Yes, Irfan. Yeah, hello. Yeah. We see you.
Hey, hi, Irfan. Yes.
Hi, Abhi. So regarding for Android app development, right? From the developer's perspective, we actually design the views that are there, no, activities and fragments. Yeah. So we actually have some layout concept where relative layout, auxiliary layout. So like in web, we have responsive concept, no? Similar way, the developer actually designs so that it will handle different resolutions and different aspect ratios. Okay, that is there. But should we actually take care of the developer options, because that's actually too much of like customization the user can do? So and the second question is, does top applications actually handle that, or it's just like they handle the responsiveness, it automatically takes care of the developer options? So the question is with respect to the display type that you showed, right, and font size.
Very good question, Irfan. So I'll tell you one thing. If you use any Google applications, for example,
Okay.
there are some hiccups. For example, if you use Gmail or other apps that Google comes up with, and also the best example for you to understand how the app is being built is the Google I/O application that comes out every year. Okay, where the layouts and everything are updated exactly according to what Google defines as part of their documentation. Okay, that is number one. So that app handles pretty much everything that you can throw at it.
Oh.
Okay, be it the display size, be it the font size, be it the don't keep activities, be it this, be it that. They also have crashes and things like that that comes up, which is okay. We're not telling everything can be avoided, but then they handle pretty much everything that comes on their way with respect to the options. Number one. Number two, also to answer your question on whether we have to use the developer option to understand, the reason I'll tell you is the fact that the phones that are by default comes on a medium display, which is medium
Correct.
display density. As being a techie, we are able to reduce the font size and display size and use it. But if you check with your mom or probably someone who have not been techie enough, there's always the increase in the size of the display itself by default, right? So
Yes.
they don't go to such settings and make any changes to it. The reason why we have to try out all of this to just to make sure, if you are aware of it, we're well and good. We are not concerned about it. But if you are unaware and this is what we are exposing it to you, and this is how the layout is constructed, then that is something that you need to look at optimizing, given the fact that your users are not just
Normally
going to stay in a specific display density or display size. They are going to go haywire in terms of how they are going to use the application. So, and especially with Khata Book, right? The reason why I took the Khata Book example is the fact that they are focusing on people who are not techy enough. Even if you see their advertisement, they're like provision store uncle and aunties and things like that. So the fact that they are not going to change anything on the phone, whatever. And in fact, if you go and ask them, I'm not able to see this, can you increase the font size? And then you see all this overlapping and the layout going crazy and things like that. That is the experience that you don't want to bring in. And also, if you are extremely good at development and managing how the layouts are being constructed, you will be very, very sensitive to what happens across different screen resolutions and different screen sizes. Yes, as a tester, it's important for us to highlight these are the problems. If you are aware of it, well and good. If you're not aware of it, just be aware of it. That would be the way we look into this.
Okay. Because the question how I related was there is an option in developer mode which is manual with something it will ask. So you can actually mention how many pixel per inch you want to define. So by default it will goes to some around 400 ppi.
Yeah.
If you change that actually to reduce it to 380 or 300, it actually puts more elements into the screen. Like similar.
That's the idea behind it. Lesser the pixel, more the things on the screen.
Correct. So actually, I tried on my phone for my personal use, but when I started using my multiple applications, it was behaving like so I just reverted back it. So that's why I was having the question, because is that the behavior people most of the applications take care, or just if we want to
most of the applications where they say that like companies like Google, yes, definitely.
Yes.
Companies like big companies, they are, because they are the reason behind this layouts.
Definitely.
They know how it needs to be constructed. But we are at a very fast environment, so you have to set up some time to make sure when you are designing whether you are going to use relative layout, whether you are going to use different layout methods to be able to get some things right out, and the font sizes and things like that. Just like how we are going to do web testing, right? You increase the size of the web.
Correct.
And then see whether what happens. It's similar to that. There's no difference, right?
Yes.
So if we are okay with that, we should be okay with this too.
Definitely. Sure. The only thing is in web it is easy to handle, but in Android it's very complex. Sure. Okay, thanks for it.
Yeah, Sukanya's question.
The question is like when we did that enabling and disabling of don't keep activities. So when we observe any crash, we get a pop-up telling your app stopped responding or your app did crashed or something.
There are two
But
things.
we did not observe something like that.
So that there are two things. There are ANRs, which is app not responding. That is that's not a crash. That is also can be a crash. Okay.
Okay.
And there are straightforward crashes where it says the app crashes, just abruptly closes and says app has unfortunately crashed and this is the box. Right. So these are two different things. ANRs are basically the app which are trying to, the layout is still active, but it's not able to finish the operation in the background.
Okay.
That is when the ANR shows up. The ANR says that, hey, would you like to reopen the application or you want to wait? That is ANR.
Okay.
Crashes are, I'm going to close the application. No matter what happens, I don't care because I'm going to crash.
Okay.
Okay, that's the difference between ANR and the crashes. Crashes are very straightforward. ANRs are, should I wait for the operation to finish or should I close it? They will ask you directly. But the crash will not ask you. It happens.
Okay, so the way of reproducing a crash without being a crash is enabling and disabling of don't keep activities. Is that right?
Yes, yes. And then switch between different activities in the application itself. Put it on the background, put it at the very last, in the life cycle, and then play some games and come back and all of that. Don't give any permissions. You give all the permissions and then try to upload a bigger file and things like that.
Okay, in that case, wherever we have left the screen, there itself it should launch. If it is not launching, then that means it has crashed actually, right?
Yes, it has not crashed. Yes, it has ideally crashed. That's a don't keep activities. But then it is trying to it has killed that particular activity. It has not crashed.
Okay.
Killed it.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Got it. Thank you.
I think we found some things in Kata book.
Yeah, I found. I actually few of them we have already reported. Few of them are yet to be reported. Like the reminder icon did not function in your device.
Yeah.
Like it is functional in the devices that we tested.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe because we had enabled developer mode, that was the reason.
No,
I'll just
you increase the display size and see what happens. So.
Yeah, that's what. Okay, that one had a doubt in my mind. So yeah, I'll try to reproduce that and then report it.
Sure.
Most of them we have reported.
Okay, great. That's nice.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Any other question, guys? I think we're 5:30. We're done. If there are any questions, you can just drop me a message on Slack.
Thank you, Abhi, for this really hands-on sessions that you did online, especially at this time of social distancing. It has been, Avinash and me are thought how to bring that same experience in an online environment. I think you've done a great job today. Thank you so much for your time, patience, and a lot of involvement that you show in this. Yes, really nice, very nice session, guys. This is a recorded session. It's going to be there with me, and once I am able to edit a few of them, I will put it up on the Academy, and you can go visit, see these videos, understand, come back. It's for you. Again, as I said a few minutes before, if there is any other session that you want Abhilash or anybody else to take, feel free to reach out to me. Thank you so much.